Adobe, what are you doing? I wish I was making this up, but Adobe has actually tried to basically delete an entire industry standard overnight. They sent out this death warrant email for Adobe Animate saying that in a few weeks, the software and all of your project files would basically be gone. The community response is so loud and so angry that Adobe just issued a massive backpedal today. But we need to look at the fine print because maintenance mode is not the victory that you think it is, and it's actually kind of insulting. So I first noticed this over on Twitter because I was just kind of going over it, and it was like, Adobe Animate is getting killed today. And I was like, what? What is that about? And right here we see that David Firth, who makes salad fingers, which you guys should all know by now, he got an email that said, Dear David, we're contacting you to let you know that Adobe will be discontinuing Adobe Animate on March 1st of 2026. As an existing Animate user, you may continue to use Animate, but please note that the technical support will no longer be available after March 1st, 2027. Oh my God. And over here, someone's like, it's morally right to pirate Adobe products. And then someone's here, don't worry, mate. You no longer need it. Just use Claude AI Opus 4.5 to make your own version of it. What? Oh my God, look at this. Adobe even responded themselves. What we initially shared is not accurate. Adobe Animate is in maintenance mode, which means we will continue to provide security and bug fixes, but we are no longer adding new features. Animate will continue to be available for both current and new customers. We are committed to ensuring that you have access to your content. But that's not true now, is it? Because that's not what they said at first. And even Jaden Animations says something. She goes, rest in peace, Adobe Animate. And she puts a little black flag cross pirate thing in between. And it says, Dear Jaden, we're contacting you to let you know the whole thing again. And abandonware needs to be considered public domain. I want to talk about why discontinuing Adobe Animate is a big deal. And I know that there's some animators that are using already other things, but I feel like we need to talk about it. So because of Adobe's announcement, it just sent a shockwave through the community because a lot of the stuff that people have used for years on top of it being industry standard, which means that this is taught in colleges. Somebody just said on Twitter that they just finished college and they're like, oh, wow, my education. And they didn't even teach a different type of animation program. We all know that Adobe is industry standard for a lot of studios, even though there's a lot of other options. But the thing is a lot of these people are trained on Adobe. I mean, me personally, I trained myself on Adobe a long time ago. And this was before I learned how to use Clip, which is kind of Adobe adjacent in a way. And Krita and all those others are Adobe adjacent. They're different. They're different, but similar. Because this has been a cornerstone of animation for over 30 years. Because it originally started as Future Splash Animator in 1996, then became Macromedia Flash in 1997. And Adobe Flash Professional after Adobe's acquisition in 2005. And it was finally branded to Adobe Animate to shift away from the Flash Player plugin. Now, a Flash-powered animation program was like the golden age of animation. I mean, a lot of you guys have heard of Homestar Runner, a lot of the Newgrounds cartoons, a lot of interactive ads. So it made with anyone who had a computer, they could do an animation. And even post Flash Player's death in 2021 due to security vulnerabilities, Animate pivoted over to HTML5, Canvas, WebGL exports, making it essential for modern web animations, mobile games, interactive e-learning. For many, it's kind of like mixing old school, new school for, the ecosystem of animations and ads and all that stuff that works together for similar Flash stuff, right? Now, killing it off would essentially erase a legacy tool that's trained like 30 years of animators, like up to this year. Educators rely on it for teaching 2D principles, and discontinuing it would actually be a problem for educational pipelines, and schools would have to literally overhaul an entire curriculum because those programs are industry standard. And Adobe's response is just to use After Effects because After Effects can do the same thing. But the thing is that's learning a completely different program. And I'm not saying that you can't. I'm saying that, like, for example, when I went to college, I actually didn't take any real art anything, right? I've always been a mostly like self-taught artist. But when I was in college, I took the beginnings of digital art because I knew it would be easy for me and I wanted to learn Illustrator and InDesign. And I thought, Adobe Illustrator will be so freaking easy. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's hard. It's very hard. Even though I already knew the Adobe like ecosystem, shifting to a different program is very hard. When I started doing videos, Adobe Premiere, very hard to learn. Yes, a lot of stuff is built up for a lot of things, but you still need to look up I still look up tutorials every time I do videos. If I'm doing something new and you see something flashing on the screen or something cool or something different, I probably just learned that. And these are industry standards. They don't have different programs. And it's kind of, in a way, it's almost like you have to learn the other programs. Like, I am focused on Procreate and Procreate Dreams, but I know that you can use so many different others. But a lot of people are just not going to do that. They're just not going to do that. Because I was looking in the Adobe forums to see what people were saying about this. And they said, you aren't just throwing away software, you're discarding years of work from thousands of users. Because without Adobe Animate, a chunk of digital animation history risks become inaccessible, like lost media. So I think my answer to this would be that I would overhaul digital art creation in colleges, where a portion of it is spent learning the industry standard, but you have to have another standard as well, another option to learn how to use those programs too in case something like this happens. So on top of that, Animate uses proprietary .fla files for projects. Users feared losing the ability to open, edit, and export decades worth of work, hundreds or thousands of files per creator. Adobe's facts initially stated access to your Animate files and project will end on the support cutoff date, meaning no more downloads or edits. For freelancers like you guys handling commissions, this could mean redoing old assets from complete scratch, or explaining to clients why revisions aren't possible anymore. On top of that, it has unique features. It's optimized for vector animation, rigging, lip syncing, and multi-platform exports. Because one user that I saw over on Adobe forums said that they could essentially make something in a few hours with Adobe Animate. But the alternates like Toon Boom Harmony or Clip Studio Paint, they do exist, but they often require relearning, like I said before, the entire interface, because it's not one for one. On top of that, this sucks, is being part of a subscription lock-in as part of the Creative Cloud. Users are already committed financially. Like me, the move felt like a kind of like a bait and switch situation where they have to pay perpetually but lose the tools even without any kind of warning. So for example, let's say they did do that, right? So what would you do if you're paying for Adobe to get Adobe Animate and what? All of a sudden you can't use the files that you've had forever? They should have make it, if that's the case, it should be free. Now, this isn't just a small thing. This is also, it has economic and industry-wide impacts too. Because at the user, there's 3 million users. I found this on PC Mag. Here, I'll show you. Sorry, I was actually wrong. It was actually Advertaline that was talking about 2D animation software. And it says right here that Animate CC is used by over 3 million creative professionals, according to Adobe's official website, but I couldn't find the link on Adobe's official website. And a part of me also feels that Adobe is justifying the move by citing evolving user needs and new platforms, but I see this as a way to ditch traditional stuff and integrate AI bullshit like Firefly and Sensei into that. I just don't. It's trying to take away the things that we as artists need, and they're preferring to boost AI use through new. I'm sure that they're right now planning on a new Adobe Animate thing that allows you to animate in real time using Adobe features, but it's more geared towards the AI stuff and less on what we're using now. And the thing is this is only fueling resentment. Like, this is why people are like, it is always good to, pirate Adobe products. While I personally do not do that, I know that a lot of people have that sentiment because they make industry standard and they're super expensive. And then they're like, you know what, we're just going to actually take this away. And we're going to make sure that it's for the AI users because we care about them way more than the artists who buy our products. Because you know what's better than an artist buying your product? Normies buying it, who's just going to make art as a product because companies are prioritizing profit over artists' needs. And I feel like this is their own fault. This is their own fault because transitions costs time and money. Like, an example, let's just say this could stifle like creators who can't afford premium alternatives. And I just saw this was a post over on David Firth's thing. This guy that was talking about AI in the comments, he wasn't even thinking about the bigger picture. He's like, well, why don't you just use Claude and then, just vibe code it and make your own Adobe Animate? And it's like, do you know how much work would go into making something like that? Making a new Adobe Animate that's open source and made for people that is the same level of quality? Because I'm going to tell you right now, Blender, in my opinion, is the only program that I feel is better than the industry standards. Because there's Krita and there's GIMP, but let me tell you, those are nothing like using Adobe or using Clip Studio Paint or even using Procreate. I know there's a lot of Krita users and there's a lot of Ibis Paint users. Okay, I know, but I'm saying it's not like using Adobe. There's a reason why they're free and they're open source, and it isn't because they're like the industry standard. And a lot of people have been calling for open sourcing Adobe Animate, like just instead of killing it and putting it in maintenance mode, which is what they said they were going to do after they backpedaled. But anyway, I want to talk about the blow up, like why people got pissed. But you guys already know why people got pissed. So you got all these famous people that people know and they love their animations being like, Adobe just killed my career, racking up thousands and basically getting a lot of attention. And some people over on Reddit also being like, I've got hundreds of projects in .fla files. What now? YouTuber rants saying we pay monthly, but they can just yank the program at any time. Because you know what this move feels like? This move feels like Adobe is saying, screw artists, go learn AI. And the timing is right after they did their AI push at Adobe Max. So Adobe shifted to indefinite maintenance mode with security updates, but no new features. So as you can see, one of the backlashes, this is my favorite backlash. This image is my favorite. So this is on the first over here somewhere. And then the moment where people realize that they're not going to be able to use it anymore, chew, shit, 9%. They went down 27.58 in the past 5 days. Because, they didn't listen to us. They did listen to the stock price. And someone down here says, billionaire corporates like Disney and Warner Brothers rely on Adobe Animate. That's why it's baffling that they thought shutting it down was in any way, shape, or form was a good idea. Oh my god. I knew I would find this as I scrolled down. The hardest part of animation used to be the labor. Any studio removes that barrier and lets anyone be a director. The era of the agent animation is here. We weren't planning to launch today, but Adobe just gave up Animate, introducing Any Studio AI, the first AI native animate. Shut the fuck up. I love this one too. We are discontinuing Animate. Internet bullying. We are not discontinuing Animate. And there's this person here who says, being loud works. Adobe just announced it's no longer discontinuing Animate, but they are putting it into permanent maintenance mode. I did want to highlight this person's message here. The moment Adobe started bragging about AI features that go beyond mere correction and just do whatever they want, I felt like they had already shifted from being about creators to look how awesome I am for making something like this. Because they were talking about this down here. So I don't have much to say about the initial backpedaling that they took, because they kind of lied and then tried to act like they didn't lie about it. And that's how Adobe works. Someone was like, Disney went and caught him in a back alley. I do believe it was something bigger than us, us artists. But I think it might be the stocks, and whoever affected the stocks caused this. But I don't think Adobe is over getting rid of Animate. Okay, so they are ending, they're not going to add anything new to it, because I feel like they probably can't add anything new to it. But I don't know enough about Adobe Animate, but I'm assuming that if the program is as old as it is, there's probably not more new features they can add to it. But the new version of whatever they were going to make is definitely going to be infiltrated by AI on an unprecedented level. I can already imagine it. It's going to look like Adobe Animate. It's going to have the same feel, but it's going to be definitely AI-ified, where it's going to make it easier for people who don't know how to animate. It's going to be like, insert clip here, generate clip in between, press button. It's definitely going to be something like that. And I don't know. And the thing is Adobe thought that they were so important that they could just get rid of an industry standard program and people weren't going to say nothing. It's not like Microsoft, where people can be like, oh, well, if Microsoft were to be like, yeah, we're ending all Microsoft support and figure it out, like, people would be lost. They wouldn't know what to do. They wouldn't know how to get onto Linux. People would rush to whatever system was the closest to what they have now. And right now, people have Adobe Animate, but I think that if you are a person using Adobe Animate now, you should find a way, or maybe someone should find a way to move those projects over to a new program, that will open multiple sources. So like, for example, you can open a PSD file over in Clip Studio Paint. There should be something similar to that, where you can open a .fla file over in something else that works, that is an alternative. So you can still keep your product and you can still work on it and keep it in its longevity. But I think maintenance mode is just a slow death to the program. Sure. I think that eventually this is the warning that people will need to start moving and gearing towards using something else, which I hope will be Clip Studio Animate or something else, or probably maybe Procreate Dreams, something. We'll have to see what they're going to come up with, because if you are just a student who graduated now, you're kind of shit out of luck. And I don't know, man. But if you guys enjoyed the video, please go and subscribe to my channel. I try to put out 2 videos a week. And I have a Patreon that has my writing on it now, even though it is a very old story. I put a special illustration that took me 41 hours to complete. It'd be super cool if you guys were into super fans. Also, I put fan art from you guys over on my Patreon. So I'm going to be putting up roughly 1 fan art per month, because I want you guys to get a little bit of visibility on there. And I guess that's it. So thank you guys for coming, and I'll see you next time.